It's a new year, new president for Harvard University. As some of you may know, the now former president of Harvard University, Claudine Gay, officially announced her resignation this morning. This happened today, Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024. This came in the wake of President Gay's testimony before the United States Congress, in which she said that according to Harvard's bullying and harassment codes, calling for the genocide of Jews depends on the context. And it also comes in the wake, especially, of allegations of plagiarism that have been levied against Miss Gay. She is found to have plagiarized several pieces of work from various authors, and most notably from Dr. Carol Swain, who is a prolific author, writer, I guess that's redundant, author and writer and educator. She has written several books and articles. In fact, her work has been cited in 3 Supreme Court cases. I interviewed Dr. Swain here on the show, so I encourage all of you to check that out. So that's just to say that between the congressional testimonies and the allegations of plagiarism, it's been a bumpy ride for Miss Gay, and finally, she confirmed what all of us were speculating, and that is that she is stepping down. Now, her tenure as president of Harvard is surely the shortest tenure that any president has had at that university. And although I don't have the data on this, I would venture to say that it is also probably the shortest tenure of any president at any institution of higher education. I think that President Gay was made officially the president in the summer, sometime in June or July of 2023, but her official inauguration date as president of Harvard University was on September 29th, 2023. And she resigned, as I said today, January 2nd, 2024. So that means, if we're using September 29th as the starting date, that she was only president for 95 days. Well, at least it wasn't as short as Kim Kardashian's marriage to Chris Humphries, which was only 72 days. We should do a competition of how short these things last. At least she beat them with 95. But boy, that is incredibly short. You know, her inauguration, as I said, took place on September 29th, which was only 8 days before the October 7th terrorist attack in Israel. I hope that Miss Gay enjoyed those 8 days before all hell broke loose, because that attack, that October 7th attack, in addition to wreaking havoc all across the world, was really the start of the chaos that ensued surrounding Miss Gay at Harvard University. So let's look for a few moments at Miss Gay's resignation letter that she sent to the Harvard community this morning. I got that email as I graduated from Harvard in May of 2022. Then we'll look at the corporation's follow-up note and analyze a little bit of that. And then I want to zoom out and discuss what I view as the real scandal here with this story. But first, again, let's look at what Miss Gay said this morning. She said, with great sadness, she is determined that it is, quote, in the best interests of Harvard for me to resign so that our community can navigate this moment of extraordinary challenge with a focus on the institution rather than any individual. Well, certainly over the past 2-3 months, there has been both of these challenges. There's been an institutional challenge, and there has been a challenge surrounding an individual, Miss Gay. The institutional challenge is obviously the fact that there was that terrible letter that came out in the aftermath of October 7th, where 34 student organizations said that it was Israel's fault for the terrorist attack by Hamas that happened against them. It was sickening and disgusting. Even worse, the university, not just President Claudine Gay, but many other high-ranking leaders there, gave a late and mealy-mouthed statement condemning the October 7th attacks and those 34 student organizations. We have seen at Harvard, as well as other campuses, that there are students out chanting for Intifada, holding and flying Hamas flags in the center of campus, going into classrooms, going into libraries, and disrupting learning and studying to chant for their whatever deranged political messages they're chanting for. We saw on Harvard's campus that a Jewish student was surrounded and blocked from going to class. So certainly that's the institutional challenge. But then we've seen that as just icing on the cake, there have been these allegations about plagiarism with Claudine Gay, that the leader of Harvard was found to have taken from several scholars' works without properly citing those sources. One such scholar is an individual who I interviewed here on the show just a few weeks ago, Dr. Carol Swain. She's a prolific author and intellectual who's written several books, published many articles, and her work was actually cited 3 times in 3 different Supreme Court cases. So she's right to identify the institutional and individual challenge that this university has faced. She continues, talks about how terrible it's been at Harvard, that there have been these tensions and divisions. Yeah, that's putting it lightly, over the past 3 months. And she said, and this is very, very interesting, amidst all of this, it has been distressing to have doubt cast on my commitments to confronting hate and to upholding scholarly rigor, 2 bedrock values that are fundamental to who I am, and frightening to be subjected to personal attacks and threats fueled by racial animus. Okay, so let's pause there. The biggest problem that I have with this statement is that A, it is way too long. When you're resigning, make it short and sweet. Say, I'm out. I apologize. Hopefully we can move forward as a university. Wish you all the best. Goodbye. This is like paragraphs and paragraphs long. And so you look at that and you go, okay, well, at least if they're going to, have a monologue here, they're going to, Claudine Gay and then the corporation is going to take responsibility for what happened. But no, look at that first few words of this statement. It's been distressing to have doubt cast on my commitments to confronting hate and upholding scholarly rigor. That is not taking ownership of the fact that you gave credence to hate by saying that such calls for hate depend on the context in order to be punished at your university. Meanwhile, other things such as misgendering people allegedly constitute hate. And also, you didn't uphold scholarly rigor. You took from other people's work. You plagiarized. So it's amazing that Miss Gay in this resignation letter is not just saying, I messed up. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. She's saying it's distressing that there has been doubt cast on these things. My gosh, what kind of example are you setting as a leader? When people make mistakes, everyone makes mistakes. It's not to say that what Miss Gay did was okay, but the way that you recover from them, the way that you talk about them is actually more important than the mistake itself. And she is missing a really good opportunity here for her to go, you know what? As the leader of this institution, as a leader in higher education, and just as an individual with integrity who allegedly cares about, academic integrity, I want to say that I fell down on my duties and responsibilities. And I want to be an example of someone who owns it, who apologizes, and who does what's best for the university. But she's not taking any responsibility here. And then she's saying that it's been frightening to be subjected to threats fueled by racial animus, okay? I'm sorry, I know it's not PC, but I'm going to say it anyway. Of course she's saying this, right? Just want to make it clear. If she was subjected to threats fueled by racial animus, as the corporation's letter, which we're going to get to in a moment, alleges, they say that phone calls and emails have included threats that have been, including racist, language against her. If that happened, that is horrible. I will be the first one to condemn it. But, it's just kind of predictable that this is being thrown in here, okay? You shouldn't make it about that. There has not been sufficient evidence to show that these allegedly racially motivated threats or attacks or criticisms have been so widespread enough to, I think, warrant a sentence in this email. Again, keep it short, focus on what you did wrong, why you are resigning, and move on. So then Miss Gay continues with saying that she wanted her presidency to be a vision of Harvard that affirmed, I'm quoting here, lest I say something and not improperly cite my source. I'm quoting here from the letter. She said that she saw, quote, in my presidency, a vision of Harvard that affirmed people's sense of belonging, their sense that Harvard welcomes people of talent and promise from every background imaginable to learn from and grow with one another, end quote. So she's focusing on the fact that by her being the first Black woman, the first Black person, the second woman to be the president of Harvard, that she wanted to show that Harvard welcomes a lot of people. Okay, again, that's great, but why are you using this email to, throw out more platitudes about, diversity, equity, and inclusion? It's really not relevant to the point of this email, which is your resignation letter. Let's keep it focused on that. That's what I would have advised her to do. And then she ends by saying, quote, when my brief presidency is remembered, I hope it will be seen as a moment of reawakening to the importance of striving to find our common humanity and of not allowing rancor and vituperation to undermine the vital process of education, end quote. I'll let you decide for yourselves. Before we continue, I want to quickly tell you about MyPillow. I use a lot of MyPillow products. I sleep on a MyPillow. I use the My Towels, and I walk into work every day wearing the My Slippers. And you can get a lot of these products at a discount to boot if you use the promo code Hartman. And right now, MyPillow is having their biggest bedding sale ever. Get the Giza Dream bed sheets for as low as $29.98, a set of pillowcases for only $9.98, and rejuvenate your bed with a MyPillow mattress topper for as low as $99.99. They also have blankets in a variety of sizes, colors, and styles. They even have blankets for your pets. Get duvets, quilts, down comforters, body pillows, bolster pillows, and so much more, all with the biggest discounts ever. They're also extending their money-back guarantee until March 1st, 2024, making them great gifts for your friends, your family, and everyone you know. Go to MyPillow.com and use the promo code Hartman, or call 1-800-566-6745, and you'll get big discounts on all MyPillow bedding products, including the Giza Dream bed sheets for as low as $29.98, and get all your shopping done now while quantities last. I'll let you decide for yourselves if you think that Miss Gay in her brief presidency affirmed that sense of common humanity. Let's go to the corporation letter now. So they followed up. Again, it's like, what is the point with all of these letters? When Ms. Gay testified before Congress, she made her statement, and then she made a clarifying statement. Back after the October 7th massacres, it took her a few days. She made a statement, and then she made a clarifying statement. It's like, let's make one statement. Tell us what's going on. Take responsibility. What's done is done, okay? So again, the corporation talks about their great sadness, and it is. It's a very sad thing what is going on. But I don't know if that's their reason for saying that they have great sadness. And they say, quote, we thank President Gay for her deep and unwavering commitment to Harvard and to the pursuit of academic excellence. Oh gosh, no responsibility. Throughout her long and distinguished leadership as Dean of Social Science, then as Dean of Faculty of Arts and Sciences, where she skillfully led the FAS through the COVID-19 pandemic. Oh, right, when you sent all of us, including me, home for an entire year because of COVID, that was a skillful leadership of the COVID pandemic. I'm continuing. And pursued ambitious new academic initiatives in areas such as quantum science and inequality, she demonstrated the insight, decisiveness, and empathy that are her hallmark, end quote. And then they continue in another part of the very long letter, quote, while President Gay has acknowledged missteps and taken responsibility for them. Look at that word, missteps. Say that what she did were mistakes. Missteps, a misstep is like you tell a white lie. You don't want to have lunch with your friend and you white lie that you're going to a doctor's appointment, and then your friend, runs into you out getting your nails done. That's a misstep. Making an off-color joke is a misstep. Plagiarizing someone else's work. Saying that the genocide of Jews, calling for the genocide of Jews, depends on the context according to your university's bullying and harassment codes. Those are not missteps. Those are mistakes. Don't whitewash them. While President Gay, again I'm quoting, has acknowledged missteps and taken responsibility from them, okay, where? It is also true that she has shown remarkable resilience in the face of deeply personal and sustained attacks. While some of this has played out in the public domain, much of it has taken the form of repugnant and in some cases racist vitriol directed at her through disgraceful emails and phone calls. If it happened, it's terrible, but why are you bringing this up now? It just kind of seems like they're pulling the racism card here to soften or attempt to distract from the real bright, blinding problem, which is that this university is in such a bad state as to elevate a leader to be the head of it who is really not a leader. And then, the corporation has this, we're going to get through this together ending, and then they all sign it, and they are appointing the provost of something. All these titles I don't really understand, Alan Garber, as the interim president of Harvard University. I'll just speak for a moment as a Harvard grad. This is a really sad day for Harvard University. Many are viewing it as a happy day, and certainly it is in some ways, the fact that, this individual who has really tarnished the reputation of our university has resigned. But it's so sad that we even got to this place. I worked so hard to get into Harvard. I was so proud to get in there. And by the way, I would even say that I'm proud to be a graduate there. I had a great experience in many different ways. Certainly being sent home due to COVID was difficult. But I took amazing courses. I had an amazing dorm room. I made amazing friends. I had amazing opportunities, including, ironically, being able to go to Israel through a program at the Harvard Hillel. I love that school. I want the best for that school. And it is so sad, again, that this leadership, it has allowed such terrible things, from this explosion of anti-Semitism to plagiarism, to take place. So this is a day where we all need to, I think, have an appropriate solemnness about the state that this university is in, but use that solemnness to charge forward with a new path. But the problem is, the rot is not just at the top of the food chain. There is a rot all around this university. And again, I'm speaking as someone who loves this university in addition to being very critical of it. I was very critical of it when I was a student there. I wrote a Wall Street Journal op-ed. I gave a senior speech about anti-Americanism, on campus. But there are all of these different problems that have contributed to the present ugly situation. The suppression of free speech, the DEI diktats that are suffused in various curriculums and in apparently bullying and harassment codes. The fact that people are so blind to really someone who is not qualified to becoming the president. This is a deeper rot that I hope this instance, this resignation, will spur a greater reckoning about. But, the real scandal here is the fact that such an unqualified person could ascend to be the president of Harvard. Had Miss Gay never plagiarized a word, had she never testified before U.S. Congress, she was unqualified to be in that position as president. There are various kind of differing numbers that are out there about the amount of articles that Miss Gay wrote. The consensus, I believe now, is that she wrote 11 peer-reviewed articles. That is not an impressive number for someone to have and be the president of arguably the most prestigious, esteemed university in the entire world. She has written one book. Again, sorry to be unkind, but that is not a particularly impressive repertoire for someone who has gotten to this level. I mean, she's been a professional academic for 20 years. As I said, that's not the most impressive inventory. That number of peer-reviewed articles should be much higher, in the double digits, if not perhaps over 100. I mean, you look at Drew Faust, who was the first female president of Harvard and a prolific Civil War scholar, and she wrote dozens and dozens of peer-reviewed articles, as well as well over 5 books, perhaps even double that. Look at someone like Dr. Carol Swain, the amount of books that she's written, the amount of articles that she's written. I mean, she would be such a fantastic president of Harvard. I encourage everyone to listen to In Depth with Carol Swain. It was an interview that was done with her on C-SPAN. I mean, she is a force to be reckoned with. There is not a lacking of competent and indeed even diverse individuals to be presidents of these universities. So the real question here is, why did they choose Claudine Gay? And I think this is the scandal. The scandal is that in this DEI-infected world that we live in, they kind of not only reward people who are unqualified getting into the university, ascending the ranks of the university, they kind of want leaders, I think, who are unqualified, because then those people are more easily controlled. So that's kind of the problem with this whole system, that they kind of want certain individuals who maybe haven't published as many peer-reviewed articles as they should, because they are easier, I think, for the boards of these universities to kind of lead in whatever direction they want the university to be led in. But, you know, if we just look more broadly at this whole DEI edifice that I've been talking about, which is the problem, it's a problem in the sense that it doesn't reward merit. It rewards intersectionality. It's the problem because it teaches people to divide the world between oppressor and oppressed. That's the whole worldview that the people of the 34 student organizations who signed that letter saying that Israel's entirely responsible for the Hamas attack, that is the worldview that they have so integrated as to write such a thing. But the thing about this DEI edifice is that we're starting to see all of the internal cracks and contradictions. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work to prop up people as leaders who are not qualified for that position. It doesn't work to divide people between oppressor and oppressed statuses. We're even seeing it beyond just the scandal here at Harvard. We're seeing that there's a huge contradiction with regard to the way DEI treats women. On the one hand, the DEI worldview says protect, defend, and amplify women. But then it also says that there's no such thing as a woman. And if you define what a woman is, then you're being transphobic. Another contradiction here is that people, talk about how important it is to elevate and protect and defend minorities, people of color. But then you see that the whole DEI edifice turns on those minorities, like Dr. Carol Swain, once they become conservative. So I think right now, this whole Harvard scandal and Penn scandal and all these other things that are cropping up are laying bare, again, some of those internal contradictions, which I hope will tear down the DEI edifice. What we need to do is get back to what institutions like Harvard once were. What made me, as a 17-year-old, so badly want to go there. We need these universities to return to being places of excellence, places which reward you based on your merit, not on your immutable characteristics, places which truly have respect for tradition, especially our American Judeo-Christian tradition, places which are unabashedly, vigorously pro-freedom of speech, and places which are truly diverse, not just with people's skin color or genders or sexuality, but with regard to their ways of thinking and the worldviews that they can offer everyone at these universities. I have a skeptical optimism that we are on a bumpy and difficult road of getting there. Thank you all so much for being with me. I hope you'll come back to this channel to see all of our pieces of content. I'll see you soon.